Yeah, so guys, thank you for subscribing and watching this video. We're gonna talk a little bit about Formula One. Uh, Max Verstappen is set to go another year without coming close to the title. It's hard to see him doing so before Lewis Hamilton retires. When the Dutchman became Formula One's youngest ever race winner in his first Grand Prix with Red Bull, he had 4 seasons ahead of him in which he would have the chance to become the youngest ever world champion too. With time on his side, many expected it to happen. Coming to the end of 2020, he's all but set to fall short. Guys, this is Max Verstappen. He became the he won his first Grand Prix with Red Bull, and then he had 4 years to become the youngest world champion as well. And many thought that he had time on his side, but now it's 2020. It's end of 2020. It's Q4 2020, but he's all set to fall short. When will his fortunes change, guys? That's what everyone's asking. When will his fortunes change? For a number of reasons, it will be when Hamilton walks away. That's a sad reason to say, or that's a sad reason to hope that once Hamilton retires, then Max Verstappen will be the main guy. I don't believe in this. Maybe Hamilton goes. There's another person who's the champion. Then what about that? The main reason for Verstappen's failure to even challenge for a title since 2017, his first full season at Red Bull, is of course because he hasn't had the car to do so. This is a bit of a tricky issue in Formula One. You need the car. You need the car, which is really, 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 really good. Even though you're the best driver, yeah. For the first 2 seasons, his Red Bull was the third quickest car on the grid and was more often than not comfortably slower than both the Mercedes and the Ferrari. Whenever he won, it was due to struggles for the top two teams or brilliance on his part. 2019 was a step in the right direction, as with the Honda power unit, the RB15 was a definite upgrade, while Ferrari had taken a step backwards from the previous year and was reliant on the controversial engine. Verstappen took full advantage to finish in his best ever position in the driver's standing P3. Given this progress, the Dutchman had put pen to paper on a new 3-year deal with the team, confident that they could catch Mercedes. However, that hasn't been the case. While he's set to easily finish the season in P3 and maybe even P2, it's largely due to Ferrari's form from grace rather than progress made by Red Bull. In fact, the 2020 Challenger is actively worse than last year's in the eyes of an increasingly frustrated Verstappen. This season's car is simply not good enough. It is clear that quite a few mistakes have been made. With all due respect, look at how close a team like Alpha Tauri is to us in qualifying. That should not happen. In the 2 races since this 22-year-old has had mechanical problems and retired both times. He sounds as if he's beginning to lose patience and faith with his team starting after the Tuscan Grand Prix, that he's sick of it. Unfortunately for him, there's no seat available for him to fill, which would give him better equipment, which brings us to Hamilton. Granted, the Mercedes is once again the best driver on the grid by quite some way. However, if they have merely good drivers, Verstappen would still be harboring hopes of winning this year's title, as shown by how close he is to Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton's form has endured that this isn't the case. The six-time world champion is looking as good as ever and is set to make that 6-7 with ease. To challenge him, Verstappen has to drive perfectly every single week and hope his car doesn't break. While the Brit can afford to have an off day or make a big error, and he'll still be ahead on track and in the standings. With stable regulations for next season, it's hard to see anything changing. Then, for Verstappen to win a title against this Mercedes, he needs both of the German team's driver to be below his level, and that surely isn't going to happen with Hamilton there. If the 35-year-old were to retire after presumably surpassing Michael Schumacher's record tally of titles, Verstappen would have a genuine shot at becoming a world champion himself, even in a Red Bull. He's already proven he can take the fight to Bottas, and when the Finn is in a better car, while whoever Mercedes signed to replace Hamilton won't be at the same level. Well, unless they sign Verstappen himself, and if Verstappen signs for Mercedes, then it's done deal, guys. That's it. They're gonna rock ahead, and that's what should happen, guys. Mercedes has their great run with Hamilton, and once Hamilton is over, he is 35 years old. It's hard to imagine this Mercedes team without the man that has been their star since joining in 2013. That's 7 years. However, as he breaks every record and edges closer to 40, they already are. Whether he calls it a day potentially as soon as the end of 2021, the obvious candidate to replace him is George Russell. Williams' driver has impressed since joining the grid and is part of their academy. Effectively, he is a Mercedes driver on loan at Williams. Given that he has no experience at the top of the field, though, it's far more likely they'd promote him to replace Bottas as the number 2 driver at first at least. Team principal Toto Wolff said to fill Hamilton's shoes he wanted someone already near his level. If he was to leave, we would lose the best driver, but we would move on and find somebody that could come close to him. As much as you like Russell, you can't deny that he doesn't yet fit the bill and won't after being stuck in Williams for a few years. So who does? Maybe Charles. He's not leaving Ferrari anytime soon, especially for Mercedes. You could argue that Daniel Ricciardo is, but he'll be at McLaren until the end of 22 at the very least. Fernando Alonso, he would be well in his 40s by the time Hamilton leaves. There's no guarantee he'll be as good after a lengthy break. The obvious candidate is, of course, Verstappen. For one, he's perhaps the only driver on the grid that could claim to be Hamilton's equal in terms of outright pace and wheel racing. What's more, he may well. He may well be available. Yes, he is under contract at Red Bull, but that contract does not have an exit clause. Generally speaking, it is a fixed contract, and if everything goes in the right direction, there will be no problems. We have a contract with Honda until 2021, but obviously, with being without an engine for the future, it could complicate all our plans. Consequently, we don't know the specific terms of the clause, but it's not outrageous to think not being given a car capable of challenging for titles after 2 years could activate it. Even if not, it's hard to see Red Bull keeping hold of him if Mercedes come calling and offer him the lead role with the team. If Verstappen threw tantrums and Wolff and Coke threw lots of money at them, they'd probably give up and let him. Then, well, in his 20s, the Dutchman would finally have the car he's longed for, assuming Mercedes maintain the level when the new regulations come in, that is. So Kimi Raikkonen may only have a handful of races left before it does another season or two at the very most, but that famous first name might not be lost to the F1 grid. Shouts of "Go on, Kimi" could be heard again in the future. That's because Mercedes have their very own Kimi coming up through the ranks. It's an Italian teenager named Andrea Kimi, listed among the junior drivers, and he's making his mark in the world of karting. So much so that Kimi, as his nickname, has just been crowned FIA European karting. It's just guys for this update. Thanks for logging in, and we'll get back to you soon.